All right, here we go. I did my best. All right. All right. Turn the light off now. Mm-hmm. Good. Did you know that you can send information backward in time? I'm not talking about the plot of some sci-fi movie. Scientists do this in something called the delayed choice experiment. What is that? I don't know. I'm an English teacher, not a scientist. But I'll link to an explanation in the description. The point is, time is relative, especially in storytelling. In fiction, time can flow forward and backward, and sometimes multiple timelines run parallel. This type of story is called a nonlinear narrative or nonlinear plot. Today we're going to talk about what a nonlinear narrative is, look at examples of nonlinear plots, and discuss the purpose of nonlinear narratives. What is a nonlinear narrative? A nonlinear narrative is a story that does not follow a traditional linear plot line. Instead, the events of the story are presented out of sequence. The author writes the events in the story out of chronological order. The story may even include multiple timelines running parallel to one another. The natural way to tell a story is in chronological order. We recount the events of the story in the order in which they occurred. We track the cause and effect of each event in a natural progression until we reach the end point. However, there are times a storyteller or author will manipulate the timeline of a story and relay the events out of chronological order. There can be several reasons why a writer would want to tell a story out of order. Maybe you're looking for a way to give your ending more of a punch. We'll discuss the different uses of nonlinear plots later. Telling a story out of chronological order is not the only type of nonlinear narrative, though. There are also stories where the author uses parallel narratives or storylines, like parallel lines. Parallel plot are two storylines that never intersect or cross paths. This separation is because the narratives are set in different time frames. These stories may be linked by common characters, events, or themes. So why would an author use a nonlinear narrative? There are a few reasons. You might want to highlight characterization and theme. The nonlinear narrative can highlight character growth by drawing a contrast between multiple characters. This contrast is usually in the surface of a broad theme. Nonlinear plots create story questions. A story question is a plot point that raises a question in your reader's mind and hopefully will keep them engaged with your story. Nonlinear narratives can create story questions by jumping around in time to show the effect of a cause that the audience hasn't seen yet. Nonlinear plots serve multiple character arcs. A nonlinear narrative is helpful if you're telling a story with several characters or more than one protagonist. Naturally, your characters will be engaged in different scenes at the exact moment in time. In a story that is juggling multiple character arcs, you will inherently need to back up in time when switching from one perspective character to another. Tools like flashbacks convey a character's memories. In many ways, our memories are like a non-linear narrative. They are often fragmented and out of order, jumping around from different times and places. This fragmented nature can make memories challenging to communicate with others. However, non-linear narratives can be very effective in conveying the complex nature of memory. By using flashbacks and dream sequences, writers can give readers a glimpse into a character's past, allowing them to understand their motivations and actions in the present. Let's talk about a couple of examples of nonlinear narrative. No discussion of nonlinear plots would be complete without mentioning a Christopher Nolan film. So let's just write a bunch of titles down on paper and choose one completely at random. All right, here we go. All right. We've got our 4 Christopher Nolan movies. Just gonna put them in this hat. Okay. We're gonna choose one completely random. Ba, ba, ba. All right. Oh, look at that. We got Memento. If you haven't seen it, it's a film told in reverse. The climax is the opening scene of the movie. We spend the rest of the film retracing the protagonist, Lenny's steps. The point of view character, or POV character, Lenny, has amnesia and no short-term memory. The plot follows Lenny as he seeks revenge for his wife's murder. Dead wives is a bit of an unfortunate motif of Nolan's films. So why is the plot told in reverse? Because the audience needs to be just as confused about the story as Lenny is. Each time Lenny wakes up, it's a random moment in his life. The audience has little to no clue what happened before this scene. By forcing the audience to view his film backward, Nolan is forcing us to empathize with Lenny, to experience the story the same way Lenny does, so we can use a nonlinear narrative to highlight a theme or motif. We can also use nonlinear narratives to create empathy and rich characterization, but there are other ways to use nonlinear narratives. Let's look at a final example of a nonlinear plot. Specifically, let's examine the parallel plot structure of Francis Ford Coppola's Godfather Part 2. Godfather Part 2 is an example of a story with parallel narratives. The audience sees the events of Vito Corleone's rise to power within the mob. But cut into that story, we also see the rise of Vito's son Michael as he takes over the family for his ailing father years later. By placing the 2 narratives together, the director juxtaposes Vito's life and his son Michael's. Vito began his career in the mafia out of desperation. However, his son Michael chooses to live a life of crime against his father's wishes. Vito's children are corrupted by their father's business, and 2 of Vito's sons are murdered. Even worse, Michael is responsible for his brother Fredo's death. The 2 stories take place decades apart from each other, but the audience experiences them simultaneously. We see the consequences of Vito's early choices play out decades later. These include things like the death of his oldest son, Sonny, and the moral corruption of his youngest son, Michael, as the cycle of violence is passed on from one generation to the next. Okay, that's all we have on nonlinear narratives for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. All right. Oh gosh. Okay. Talk soon. Bye. Okay, I think I'm done. I did my best.
I thought it sounded like it was pretty good, yeah.
Alright, I did my best.
Why? What's up?
I don't know. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Alright. I'm gonna turn the light off now.
Mm-hmm.